There's an entire living world right in front of you that you've probably never seen. And no, I'm not talking about some distant galaxy, it's literally everywhere. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that invisible world.
So, for pretty much all of human history, we were completely oblivious to this teeming world of life. And we're not talking about some far-off place. No, this world was on our skin, in the food we ate, in the very air we were breathing, and we couldn't see a thing.
I mean, just think about that for a second. What if an entire world with billions of living things was just going about its business right in front of your face and you were completely blind to it? Well, for us, that wasn't a what if. That was our reality.
And this isn't science fiction. This is just history. For thousands of years, these tiny organisms lived and died and literally shaped our planet, all while we had no idea. So what changed, right? How did we finally open our eyes?
Well, the breakthrough, the thing that changed everything, was one revolutionary discovery. It was like finding the key that unlocked this massive mystery and changed science forever. And what we're talking about, of course, is the discovery of the cell.
Okay, so the story starts all the way back in 1665. You've got this scientist, Robert Hooke, and he's got this cool new invention, the microscope. So he takes a super thin slice of cork, puts it under his microscope, and what he sees is just incredible. It's this pattern of tiny, empty boxes, which he then drew in his famous book, Micrographia.
These little boxes actually reminded him of the small rooms, the cells, where monks lived in a monastery. And just like that, boom, he gives a name to the fundamental building block of all life. Think about that. For the first time ever, we had a word for the tiny little units that make up every single living thing.
And get this. Right around the same time, there was another pioneer, a guy named Antony van Leeuwenhoek, who was making even better microscopes. He decides to look at a single drop of pond water, and he becomes the first person in history to see tiny living things actually swimming around. These were what we now call microbes.
Okay, so this is where it all gets really personal. Because this whole discovery, it wasn't just about weird little boxes in cork or critters in pond water. It was about us. It's the story of how you are built, starting from just one single cell.
The best way to think about it is like this. Cells are basically like bricks. You know how a huge wall is built from thousands of individual bricks all stacked together? Well, your body is built from trillions of individual cells. They are, quite literally, the building blocks of life.
And these bricks don't just randomly pile up. There's a whole system, a hierarchy. You've got similar cells grouping together to make tissues. Then, different kinds of tissues work together to create organs. Those organs then team up into organ systems, and all of that, together, creates a complete, functioning organism.
So let's actually trace that journey, right? It all starts right here, with these individual, specialized cells. And then these cells, they organize themselves into tissues, kind of like the lining of your stomach, where every cell is working together with its neighbors.
And from there, those tissues come together to build a complex organ that does a specific job, like, well, the stomach itself.
And finally, when you put it all together, all of this amazing, intricate cellular work builds a complete living being, a being like you.
But here's what's really cool. Not all cells look the same, not even close. Their shape is perfectly tuned for whatever their job is. A muscle cell? It's spindle-shaped, built for contracting and creating movement. But a nerve cell? Whoa, it's super long, with all these branches, basically making it the perfect biological wire for zapping messages all over your body. It's a classic case of shape follows function.
All right, so we've been talking about complex multicellular life, things like us. But what about the creatures that are made of just one single cell? Let's zoom back in and properly meet the microbes.
So what exactly is a microbe? Well, the definition is pretty straightforward. It's any living thing that's so small you need a microscope to see it. And the whole bunch of them are unicellular, which means their entire life, everything they do, happens inside the walls of just one cell.
So who are these guys? Well, first up, you've got your protozoa. Think of the classic shape-shifting amoeba. They're like little single-celled hunters, just cruising through water and soil.
Then you have algae. These are basically the tiny plants of the microbial world. They hang out in water and use sunlight to make their own food through photosynthesis, just like a giant tree would.
we've also got fungi in the mix. Now this group is interesting because it includes single-celled guys like yeast, the stuff that makes bread rise, but also multicellular forms like the penicillium mold you're seeing here.
And of course, bacteria. These guys are, well, they're everywhere. In the dirt, in the sky, on you, in you. They are without a doubt one of the most abundant and diverse forms of life on Earth.
Okay, so why does any of this matter? It's a fair question. The thing is, this invisible world isn't some weird separate reality. It's actually deeply, fundamentally connected to our own survival. You could even say these microbes are our invisible allies.
I mean, their resume is just staggering. They help make our food. Think yeast for bread, bacteria for yogurt. They're nature's ultimate cleanup crew, decomposing waste and recycling nutrients. Get this, tiny algae in the ocean are responsible for producing over half the oxygen you are breathing right now. And the trillions of bacteria in your gut, absolutely critical for digestion. The bottom line is, we couldn't survive without them.
They really are the invisible foundation of our entire world. They're like the silent engineers running the planet's operating system in the background. Which brings us to a final and kind of terrifying thought experiment. What would actually happen if tomorrow morning every single one of them just vanished?